Welcome to another Linleys video. Hi, I'm Warren Brand and today I'm exploring Pen-y-ghent in the Yorkshire Dales, including an overnight wild camp out on the summit. To set the afternoon off, I've stopped for a bite to eat and a pint at the Queen's Arms in Litton. As the national lockdown restrictions have been relaxed, I'm so pleased that I've had the chance to take a few days out in the Yorkshire Dales. I'm starting my trek from the eastern side of Pen-y-ghent up from Halton Gill. I've parked up and will follow the roadway westerly to start with over the River Scurfair. Avoiding the tarmac surface, it's so much better walking along the grassy border. The forecast is good, so I hope for a clear sky for a sunset view from the top. This first section is a bit of a slog, but on the positive side, the grass is comfortable to walk on and the height gain is steady. The views progressively open up and, apart from one farmer on a quad bike, there have been no vehicles to be bothered by. I had ample time to spare, so I didn't hasten. The view of Pen-y-ghent with Plover Hill on its right were teasing all the way, but as I trekked on, they got progressively closer and closer. With the limestone rock prevalent in the area, many watercourses duck and dive between being on the surface in rivers some of the time and in underground watercourses otherwise. In this area there are broad slabs of limestone, crazed and worn by the wind and rain in modern times, but in prehistory carved up and ground away by the ice. All the time the view of Pen-y-ghent's lumpy summit rises above the surrounding area in such a dramatic fashion, made even more impressive with the evening light in the sky. After what didn't seem very long, but in reality was a couple of hours of having stopped so many times for photos and video, I turned right to follow the trail through the farm to pick up the effective foot of the ascent path to the summit. The next part of the route includes a mix of some steeper sections of path as well as a little scrambling. From here, access to the summit is quite swift, and even though the peak is slightly blind and elusive, the trig point is easy to spot as the final few metres of height are gained. The broad views back over the valley where I've just walked are clear and typical of the great outdoors in this area. From the summit, the 360-degree views are so great. When the weather and time is in our favour, the great outdoors is so inviting. The top part of Pen-y-ghent is bisected by a stone wall running north-southish. The trig point is on the eastern side. The wall is slightly curved to form some level of wind protection. The stone seats feature well in the alcoves. The Three Peak Challenge route comes up from the south just here and continues through the stile gaps in the fence down to the west. Just away from the trig point, well off the path, I found a flat spot for my tent pitch and set to work making camp. With my meal cooking, I next opened a beer and reflected on just how lovely it is to be out once again. As dusk turned into night time, I settled down in my sleeping bag and had a restful sleep. Depending on how keen and motivated I am in the morning, I can be up, breakfasted, repacked and back on the track in about 45 minutes. My porridge and coffee breakfast takes most of this time. Today though, it took me an hour or so. No matter. I absolutely support the leave no trace concept, and from the top of this hill I not only bagged up the few bits of my own rubbish, but I also collected a few other bits too, left by others over time. I even found an old pull ring from a drinks can, the style that pulled all the way off, like they did back in the 80s. Packed up, I headed off towards Plover Hill, slightly to the north. I've not been to this peak before, as the Three Peaks route cuts off before getting there. From the trig point, the path to Plover Hill is technically on the right side of the wall according to the map, but on the ground the most trodden route is certainly on the left side. I cut through the stile gap in the wall and headed north. During the winter, I bet the ground here is boggy and difficult to traverse, but with such a dry April this year, the peat is firm and very dry. Plover Hill has just a small cairn on top to mark its summit, but it was worth climbing over the wall in the corner intersection of walls, using the makeshift style to get to the summit just here. Plover Hill. Tick. From the wall intersection, I took the path northwards down from the summit. This lesser used path, compared to the main Three Peaks route path, is still straightforward through ruts and across potentially boggy sections. I met just one hill walker all morning, and here the fellow walker and I stopped for a few minutes to share tales. From the gate, the broad path follows the contours around the northern slopes of Plover Hill for some 1.5 kilometres. Left then, turning to descend, the path heads directly towards a set of farms at Foxup. Clearly, as the rebuilding work shows, significant investment is going on with many of the buildings, maybe to include a holiday cottage accommodation. The old river bridge next to the farm crosses the river with such very little water flowing at the surface of the rock. Turning to follow the road to Halton Gill, I spotted water bubbling up from the ground to join the river just here. The final 1 kilometre does include some tarmac bashing, although there is a little grass on the edge to use at times. Back at the car by about 12:30, I had time to drive back down the valley a little way back to Litton for a quick stop at the pub again for a pint and a bowl of chips, while sitting in the sun in the pub's garden. The trek last night and this morning with the overnight stop on Pen-y-ghent was great. It's so good to be out once again, escaped to enjoy the great outdoors. Sitting in the sunshine and thinking back over my walk, the sense of calmness and achievement is matched by the realisation that we have so many special hills, mountains, valleys and woodlands to enjoy. Thanks for watching and bye for now.